in my mind, as a 22-year-old, everybody that does real estate is rich.
Yeah. Guys like you and previous guest Dan Purrington, sounds like you guys have figured out a way to deliver the method in a more intimate setting that's like a little more relevant.
Is that not common?
Super uncommon. Gym World hack here. If you ever want to guesstimate someone's revenue, just take the amount of employees that they have and multiply it by 100,000. That'll get you really close. Hello and welcome to Gym World Worldwide. I am coming at you live again from my grandmother's basement, and we have yet another gym owner joining us from the basement to share their secrets. With me today is Eric Freedom. That is your pen name.
That is my pen name, sir.
Eric Chang's your birth name, correct?
That is the name my parents gave me.
Of Reason Fitness. He is a longtime friend, someone I've gotten to know through the Two Brain group over the last couple years, and he's just been secretly crushing it, and it is long overdue to have him on the show. So welcome. Thank you for squeezing us into your busy schedule before you had to...
pre-flight?
Yeah, before having to go to the airport.
There you go.
So explain how you got into the industry, how you started your gym before we get into all the juicy stuff.
That you didn't mention anything about my neck that you mentioned earlier. I'm a little disappointed.
I do think he has a girthy neck,
girthy
calves that you can't see on here.
You.
That was my business advice to him, was to become the neck guy.
The neck guy.
Who you go to when you want a nice, thick, vascular neck.
Yes. Thank you. I'm going to, hopefully this makes it onto the podcast. I don't know how raw your podcasts are, but...
Oh, it's not heavily edited.
Okay, it's not heavily edited. Okay, well, this is for my wife then. So, babe, this is for you. I'm going to pull this clip just for you to hear that another man really likes my neck.
Does your wife give you a hard time? Is the neck a problem in your marriage? You guys have neck trauma?
She just likes to make fun of my physique.
That doesn't sound like a healthy marriage at all.
Yeah, right? And then I can't say anything about hers.
I definitely do not.
Never.
You keep that to the chest.
Yeah, absolutely. So your question was...
It had nothing to do with your wife's physique, that's for sure.
For sure. Yeah, we're in our 12th year. We're just starting our 12th year of business. I started my gym in my mom's garage. So I have a very early 2000s, 2010s CrossFit story. Been a trainer since I was 19. Long story short, grew up playing basketball, stopped playing basketball, kept eating like I was playing basketball. Graduated high school, sub 250. I'm 5'8" for reference, not muscular. Like I wasn't hitting the weights. I was benching because every high schooler likes to bench. And I was like, I don't know if I could say like the word fat boy, but I was a fat boy. So went to college, started dating my wife, realized that I was like, man, like I'm really overweight. And honestly, out of like a fear of her, I went to junior college. She went to like a 4-year university, a good one. And I was like, dude, I'm getting left behind. She's gonna ditch me because I'm fat. She's gonna meet like a really handsome guy and leave me while I'm here going to junior college
with a thick ass neck.
With a thick ass neck. And she's gonna leave me, and I'm here working at Big 5 Sporting Goods. I'm never gonna get out of junior college. Anyway, I start getting into the gym. Very typical motivation is like I want to be healthier, but really like
sounded like you just wanted
every teenage boy
get laid.
Wants to be jacked. I just wanted to be jacked, like every teenage boy.
Doesn't sound like a health thing at all.
Well, I was unhealthy. I had like bad blood markers at the time. My doctor was like, you should lose some weight. So I lost some weight and then went through this journey of figuring out how to get into like teaching fitness. My initial goal was to become an athletic trainer. So the ATC. So I went down that route. I actually worked as an athletic trainer, transferred, eventually became a kinesiology major. And I actually found out about CrossFit through my professor mentioning it and was like, don't do it. It's like, it's not legit. It's not scientifically backed. And back then, everybody was still doing CrossFit workouts off .com. And in my area in Los Angeles, there's probably like, I think at the time, maybe 6 affiliates across a 2-hour, like hour and a half drive.
You said 12 years ago, so this is like 2012? You hadn't opened the gym yet? This is when you started.
This is 2009.
Okay.
So at the time, like, how long have you been around that space?
2010 was when I started doing it, and then 2013 is when I opened my gym.
Oh, me too. Okay. So I started in 2009, and then, so just a year ahead of you. And then, so long story short is like, I did the opposite of my head of kinesiology said to do. I got really into CrossFit. and it became like the methodology that I used to. I eventually became a personal trainer at the YMCA. Then I went to 24 Hour Fitness, and then eventually, like, you can't really teach CrossFit in those settings without being like kind of being a dick. Like, you're like, oh, I'm gonna use the Smith machine and the pull-up bar and a barbell here, and I'm gonna do burpees right here. Like, it's just too much space, right? In global gym settings,
And it's just weird, you know.
It's
people
also
like,
yeah.
when I was doing it on the road, like after I'd sold my gym, like it just feels weird to do that type of working out if everyone else around you is just doing buys and tries.
It wasn't as welcome as like it is. Like if you go to like Lifetime Fitness or Equinox, or like you can find some guy doing a CrossFit style workout. It's probably not the majority, but it's not. You wouldn't look at it and be like, "That's weird."
But the people in there at least know what
They
that
know-
type
they
of
know-
training
yeah,
is, so they don't think
Yeah.
that you're like the insane
Yeah.
guy at Planet Fitness, like swinging
Yes.
from a machine. you
Yeah.
know?
So actually, to my benefit, that worked really well, and that got me. I was a trainer there, and actually got me clients. Like people were like, "This guy looks like an idiot," but other people were like, "That's intriguing." And to be fair, like among my coworkers, there was one other coworker that was doing CrossFit. Everyone else kind of like hated CrossFit. We were probably the fittest people. Like we were the fittest trainers at the gym, not just like aesthetically we were fit. Like we weren't the bodybuilding type. Aesthetically, we looked like healthy, fit people, and then we were like mobile, and we had like functional carryover into life. So I did that up until 2012. I started running like a garage gym, and it was like friends and family. Hey, I'm not trying to open a gym, but I love CrossFit, and what I experienced was I moved back home, and everybody that was a gym owner in the area, kind of like when I went to join a gym, they would just like talk crap about the other gym. And that wasn't my experience in college. I didn't want to join a gym because I felt like it was like really negative energy. I graduated, I bought a set of barbells from Rogue, from Bill, and they used to charge a lot more. I feel like it's actually cheaper to get Rogue now, but I bought like the 230-pound set with the 45-pound bar. I bought like anti-fatigue mats from Home Depot, not like rubber flooring.
Like the ones you use to like wash dishes. And
Yes.
Yeah.
So I used that. My lifting platform was the cardboard that all my gear came in, like my Rogue, and that was like my flooring. And I taped it, like duct taped it, like and I made like a pseudo.
Bet it looked good in there.
It looked cool. I have photos of it if you want it. But yeah. So that was 2009, 2010. I did that. And eventually, like I invited friends and family over, and every time they came over, they would just pay like a $10 donation, just to like help me get more equipment so I could train them for free. And eventually, like I was doing that, and it's really hard making a living as a trainer in general, right? I was at 24 Hour Fitness. The split is like, I think it was like at the time it was like $7 to the trainer, plus if you have, depending on your level of education, like 1, 2, 3 master. I was like just under a master. So if you max it out, I think you get like, it's called a session premium, which is a percentage of what the personal training session is sold at. You get like $7 plus like, I don't know, $2 to $4 extra dollars.
In LA.
In
so
LA.
$11 is you're rolling in it.
Yeah, so crushing it, right? So did that, and then because it wasn't paying bills, and I was like, I wanted to get married. I proposed to my girlfriend, and I wanted a more stable job, so I started doing some real estate. Because in my mind, as a 22-year-old, everybody that does real estate is rich.
Yeah, just license and then
Get a
just
license,
load
and you're just gonna crush it. And I did property management, which is like, that's not like doing real estate when you're doing property. It's nowhere near as sexy as a suit-wearing real estate agent driving a BMW, right? I'm driving a 1995 green Toyota Tacoma.
to the projects.
Yeah.
To clean it, to fix the toilet.
Picking up Section 8 rent that, like, in homes, I'm like, dude, how can you not pay rent? You know, you have a 50-inch. I don't have a 50-inch, and your rent's $100. Like, you couldn't come up with $100. Anyway, so I'm doing that, and I don't love it, but it pays me more stable than, you have churn and you have clients.
But you didn't have, like, members at this time. This was still just, like, pay me $10 when you show up.
Yeah, and then I'm, like, working a few hours at 24 Hour Fitness, so I'm just miserable.
Which is also a $10 donation.
Yeah, exactly. So my wife was like, one day was like, hey, I think you should open a gym. I think that's what you want. I think you're really happy when you get to work with people. I think you should go do it. And I think if I ever did it, I'd plan to do it like when I turned 30, because we had student debt, so we wanted to save up for it. right? So let's save up for it. And if I still want to do it in 7 years, let's do it.
How are you saving up for it if you were making like $10 an hour? And
When you're like in your 20s, I think you're just figuring it out. Also, we lived really humbly, man, back then.
you had to.
I was
Jesus.
like, I ate the same stuff every day, like rice or yams with ground turkey and broccoli.
Okay.
Yeah.
That bodybuilder lifestyle. Yeah. Okay.
I mean, it was like, for me, it was efficiency.
But your wife
And-
was floating you? Was that the thing? She
So,
had the
Yeah.
stable
so
job?
she had the stable job. She was making like $2,700 a month as a teacher.
So she was the loaded one.
She was the baller.
Yeah, okay.
She was the baller between the two of us. Yeah, collectively.
But in LA, how does that even work? You know?
Our rent was like $1,500 a month, and we actually saved money. We still went out to the movies. We ate. We had health insurance. Paid off like $200 a month of student debt, and we saved like $500 a month. Like, we were able to save money.
Okay.
I don't know how we did it, but
Yeah, the place I lived in, my first Hoboken apartment when I was starting the gym, I remember my wife was calling. We saw like a for rent sign out front of this building, and she called to inquire about it. And the guy was like, got a nice apartment for you. Got a nice apartment, but it ain't got no windows. And she's like, what do you mean got no windows? It's like, you're going to like it. It's like, are you sure I'm going to like it? She's like, yeah, if you're a mushroom farmer. And I was like, wait, it was literally, yeah, we had an apartment with no windows, but it was $1,300 a month. So yeah, I understand the grind. Okay. So how did you open up the gym? How'd you get the money to make that?
Yeah. So at the time, even though we had student debt, to give you some context of my upbringing, I was raised by a single mother. Okay. My mother has like, have you seen The Pursuit of Happiness?
The Will Smith one? Yeah.
So she's kind of like the Taiwanese immigrant mom version of a black man. But instead of being in San Francisco, we were in LA. So my parents get a divorce. My mom, they owned a family business together. My dad got the business. My mom got us and the debt on the house. So she borrowed a ton of money from her family to cover that. And then she spent, I think, like 6 months studying for a series, whatever you need, the series, whatever, to become a financial advisor. So she goes through like that internship, you know, the 6 month internship where they vet you, see how good you are. Then they give you a roster. They keep you for like a year. Then you have to build a portfolio that outgrows that. So she did all that. She's got like kind of like a Pursuit of Happiness story, like immigrant mom, English isn't amazing. She's been at Merrill Lynch now for 20-something years. She's one of like very few females at her branch, like maybe like 3 females, and she's the only Asian person. So it's like she taught me, and being raised the way I was very cheap. I started investing in the stock market because of my mom when I was 15. We had to like sign a special thing that I was allowed to. I was like, that's when the PS2 was coming out. So I've been investing in the stock market since I was 15 years old. Like not like just a few shares, but it was something that like I grew interested in. She also, just being raised under like an Asian household, you are taught to never have any consumer debt. Like consumer debt means just like you get disowned. Like she's told me I will never pay any credit card debt that you have. You got it. Like you're gonna have to figure that out. And also I will be very upset. Like she, like very clearly has like instilled those kind of values. Like we try to do everything cash. And then in the first years, like my early life, I followed Ramsey, like Dave Ramsey.
Yep.
So I've always been like a saver. And I've worked since I was 15. My first job was like I took a bus to, like I worked at a warehouse during the summers, unload shipping containers, like because we're close to Long Beach, and a lot of stuff comes in from like Asia. So I unloaded shipping containers, did that, and then I had all these odd jobs. So by the time I went to college, I had money going to college, not like a lot, like a few $1,000s. I worked all throughout school. When I graduated and then we got married, we asked for cash gifts. I would say that we started our marriage with school debt, but we were probably also positive like $30K, which is like, to me, that's like a head start. And we had great credit between me and my wife. So we funded the gym with some pre-sales and a Visa card.
Credit card debt.
Yeah.
Oh man,
Yeah.
missing the whole family too.
Yeah. So.
And that's not the space you're in today, right? Like
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this was just like some beater starter facility, or was it pretty?
Those $10 donations went a long way. They helped a lot to like, by the time that we opened, I probably already had like almost more than half the equipment I needed out of my mom's garage. Eventually that, like we had 14 barbells. out of like a garage stall. 14 barbells. We had up to like 1,000 pounds of plates at that time. No, like 2,000 pounds. I did 2 of those orders, like 2,000 like high temp bumper plates, 1 or 2 of each kettlebells going up to like 70. So we had a decent amount. So I just had to buy some more stuff. It was definitely bootstrapped. I think the biggest thing was I kind of finessed the landlord because I was going around and I had a great credit score, but no like business. And I was like, hey, I'm trying to start a gym. Will you sign me a lease? And that was actually probably the real hack. It was like I went around and I got denied leases. They're like, oh, like you don't have any history of doing business. And I was like, yeah, but like I'm going to make this work. Like, please. You know, it's like I'm like literally just trying to get anybody to like give me a lease. Like a small retail strip off of our downtown gave me my first lease because I think they were just vacant for so long. And it was like abandoned. It looked terrible in there.
And so what did, like how big was that space?
2,400.
And you just started with the garage people?
Yeah.
And then what, just grew organically over time, or were you doing anything to kind of pump those numbers up?
So at the time, like when I first started the gym, and everybody in my, like a lot of my closest friends and the town I'm in, I became kind of like the CrossFit guy that wasn't part of a CrossFit gym. That kind of helped. And then like social media. It was like Facebook was, back then the playbook was anytime someone worked out in my garage, I would post a group photo. Because I learned that from HQ. Because CrossFit.com would always use group photos. So I literally just like treated my Facebook feed, which was very different 12 years ago.
Right, it wasn't like a algorithm.
No, it was just like pure. So I would post and then people would comment. Like I was just like, my feed would get like tons of comments like, oh my God, I want to try it. And I just would hype up these like almost like this underground workout session at my house. And then eventually it was the gym. And I would just talk a lot about how much it meant to me. And I wasn't even genuine. I wasn't marketing. It was almost like my Facebook feed became my my and I would just write stuff like, like I'm so grateful that I get to do this every day. Anytime a member would join, I would post that member like this person, Julia just joined the gym. Like I'm so excited to change her life. It was just very, like I'm 25. So,
but you were feeling that, like that wasn't a gimmick. That was like who you were.
Yeah. So I was just posting it, and then I would add her as a friend, and then I would tag her in it, and her friends would see it. And then it was just this very guerrilla thing. Like we weren't like, I don't think I started running ads till like 2019.
Yeah, and back then it was easier to get people to come into a CrossFit gym, try it out. Like that was still a phase where it was like new and novel, and everyone was looking to do that. For
sure.
So let's fast forward to today. What's your current space? Tell me about that. What you got going on?
We are in just under 5,000 square feet.
Okay, and where in California are you?
We are in a suburb of Los Angeles County.
And what type of rent are you paying on that?
We are $8,000.
Okay, so it's not the worst I've heard.
It's not the worst. It's not the worst.
For LA, that's pretty good.
I mean, I don't want my landlord to hear this, but it's great rent. The caveat is that like we spent 6 figures in TI, so it's like I can't take the TI with me.
Right.
So there is some things to make it workable. Where I was hoping that like. Yeah, but you can argue about, like, I have a lease renewal actually coming up, so we could probably talk about that. But
so out of there, how many people are you training now?
Just under 150.
Okay. And most of that is group personal training? Like, how you breaking that down?
Yeah, I would say that if you want to go off revenue or people.
We can do both. We like revenue.
Let's do this. I know you do. So I'll give you these revenue numbers. We do probably 40% is personal training or semi-private. 20% is group / CrossFit. 10% is hybrid, which is like group and you get check-ins. And another 10% is probably like front-end offers, onboarding, on-ramp. And then the rest is like fitness assessments, deposits. Like, when someone joins, they put a deposit down. And it's like holding feet, that kind of stuff.
No.
And apparel.
What do you mean they put a deposit?
Okay, so if you like want to join our gym, you put a deposit down for a fitness assessment. It's either $2 or $250. Okay. And that's for you to like meet with a coach.
Like this is your sales process. So it's so you have to pay to even start the journey.
Yes.
What?
Okay,
so you come in when you come in for NSI, it's like a 2-step.
And it's sized like a sales appointment.
Yeah, so we will sell you into a fitness assessment that is paid. And then we use that because we need time with the person, but I can't justify that much time. And how do we give value to the client while they're there? So, well, they got to pay for some of it. So we kind of ask them to meet them in the middle. So we do it's either 200 or 250. We go through like an assessment, and then they will tell them the best option for them going forward. $100 of that is applicable towards whatever front-end offer they decide to continue with.
Okay, so basically they can apply a piece of that.
A piece of it
into.
Yep. And then if they no show, they
forfeit the deposit. Okay. Yep. Yeah. So you said 150, 40 of it's coming from private, semi-private. You said 20 from the group
CrossFit. Yep.
Your traditional CrossFit. Yep. 10 is some mixture of the two.
Yeah. So 10 to maybe 15. Maybe 15. I mean, yeah.
Okay, so that puts us at 75%. Yep. You said the rest of it is et cetera / online. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we do I would say there's we have some one-off high tickets that fall into that category. So, for example, we have a guy right now that's doing a 1-year transformation journey with us. It's a 52-week transformation journey. We go to his house and cook meals with him. We do a weekly meal planning with him. In the first, we break it down in 3 phases. During the intensive phase, we grocery shop with him, and we teach. It's deep nutrition, but it's mostly habit coaching. Mm-hmm. So we do that. But those are rare. Those are people that in need of losing 30 pounds or more, and have not been successful. And
what does something like that run?
We run. So we charge $14.40 for 3 times a week's personal training, plus $2,700 for consulting.
And that's per
every
month?
4 weeks.
Okay, so that what does
that
that
runs
work
out to 4140.
Okay, so it's
every 4 weeks. Yeah,
basically a $50,000 a year program. If
yes,
you did for a year.
Yeah.
Okay, and then for you said top line looks like what?
Monthly.
Yeah,
we are averaging 83 for the year, 83.5.
Okay, so
yeah, it's just about $1 million. We're gonna hit about $1 million this year.
And you're saying the majority of your revenue comes from private or semi-private.
Yeah, it's trending towards that way.
Sorry, the biggest bucket, basically.
Correct, the biggest bucket is, and it's trending. It's probably growing even more now.
Which is pretty rare for a CrossFit gym. How did you end up? Because we've talked a lot about CrossFit, and I think there's some difficulty with the model. And if you want to stick with that large group model, I think it's a little tougher to do now if you're starting from scratch versus when we started in 2012, 2013. I think just getting that critical mass that you need to make the business work is way harder. Where guys like you and previous guest Dan Purrington, sounds like you guys have figured out a way to deliver the method in a more intimate setting that's a little more relevant.
Is that not common?
Super uncommon.
Is it really?
Super uncommon.
Huh.
So that's why I think it's interesting when you get a gym that's making more money from smaller group but doing CrossFit than not. Because I don't think we mentioned, you said CrossFit, Reason Fitness is your thing, but you're still affiliated.
Yeah, the methodology is core. How are you defining CrossFit?
I walk into your gym. There's a bunch of barbells. You do some, there's Olympic lifting. It's group classes.
Yeah.
It's,
I would say we're using we're talking about programming philosophy.
I don't want to. We're not a fitness show, but I would guess if you walked in your gym, it looks
looks and smells like CrossFit. But I would say that 9 out of 10 people that are walking to our gym today, they don't know they're walking to a CrossFit gym.
You Trojan horse it.
Maybe, yeah. They don't even know what CrossFit is.
Right.
I would say.
So you focus on the transformation. We focus
on the result.
Weight loss.
Yep.
You focus on longevity, health.
Yep.
And I think that's important. And so, you said you only had 150 members, but you're doing over $1 million in revenue.
Yeah.
And that's really all you need. A lot of people think in that large group model, you probably need 200-300 members to make a gym work in LA, or you got to charge $200-300 for a large group, I'm assuming.
Yeah. We're our large group, we're our every 4 weeks is just under $300.
Right. So what is it? What is 150? What does the average math work out? What's the average member paying a month?
For group?
For just the average member of the 150, whatever.
If you're in personal train, a personal training membership, you're probably averaging between 1,000 to 2,000. If you're in group, you're averaging between 250 to 300. If you're in hybrid, you're between 4 and 5.
And can you, deliver, a lot of people say that the group kind of brings out that competitive piece and pushes people to go harder.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think you still get some of that in the small group or the personal training, or it's just like a different vibe and experience?
I mean, so I would say that we're going through like a cultural shift where we might have 2 people that could qualify, maybe 3 that could qualify for semifinals. We actually tried to send a team last year, semifinals, but it was like 3 coaches, and then we borrowed a coach from somewhere else, right? So among our membership, 0. Even if they think they're competitive, like they're not really. So we don't have that kind of.
I mean, a competitive athlete isn't going to be interested in a gym that requires like the deposit. You would lose a competitive. Like they wouldn't get through your sales process. So by having
we've lost people in that, and I think that's why it's a good filter for us. Like we don't want that guy that came from another gym that's like, can you match my 125 a month rate? Like, I've been doing CrossFit for 19 years, like, or whatever. Like, it's like, no.
Hey gym owners, are you looking for a way to generate more leads, close more sales, and increase client retention? Introducing Kilo. We are a software company that gives gym owners the tools they need to increase revenue and run a successful gym. With Kilo, you get a beautifully designed website to capture more leads, an integrated marketing automation platform to increase sales, and our gym management software so you can add new client memberships, process payments, and organize your class schedule. If you're ready to upgrade your gym management software, book a call at usekilo.com.
At least within the community. And so if you're not a CrossFit gym, sorry for going down the rabbit hole, but not sorry. You had an athlete die at the games. You had a lot of people within the athlete community showing displeasure with how the sport of CrossFit is. And then you have a lot of OG affiliates saying like, hey, we don't like the sport's great, whatever, but we don't care about this. Like our bread and butter is helping people like look and feel better. Yeah. And this is kind of a distraction. And this week, I don't know when this will go out, but this week Glassman releases, Broken Science, or Broken Science has been around, but the MetFix, which is essentially like, it sounds like he just wants to take the top 10% of CrossFit gyms and get them to affiliate with his thing and focus more on the actual method rather than the sport piece.
How does he define the top 10%?
I can't tell if that was. I think that was something I heard in someone else's YouTube video explaining it. So
I see.
I don't think that's a direct quote out of his mouth.
Okay.
And I don't have a direct line to Greg Glassman, so I can't speak on his behalf.
Yeah.
But I did look at the website and the application page, and it seems like they are filtering out for gyms, and it seemed very focused on the affiliate community. So, it's interesting to hear you say that. As a OG gym owner, one of the older CrossFit gym owners, someone who's been in the community since 2009. Yeah, it's just separating the actual method, like doing CrossFit, like the workout versus the CrossFit business as it was for that group. For a long time, how people had been running that CrossFit gym, because I don't know, honestly, we talked to a lot of gyms, like it seems like a tough model. Like if you were someone who started in 2009, 2010, 2011, like you've been able to maintain, but
I think even those gyms have had to evolve. Like,
I don't hear a lot of stories of people who like started a gym, like a CrossFit in 2018, 2019, only do group and they're crushing it. Like I haven't found
2018, 2019?
Yeah, haven't heard like a single $1 million CrossFit gym story.
No, you're asking for a Sufferfest. Yeah, it's going to be tough.
Right. And so, the guys tends to be the guys who are doing $1 million, all large group. They started relatively early and were able to maintain that momentum, that culture.
And I mean, I feel like I could like name all of them. Like there's not many.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's probably that's an issue, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And so you're doing those type of numbers, but you evolved. Or like a guy like Dan Purrington, he's doing pretty decent numbers, but they're able to stay true to CrossFit, like believing in that OG CrossFit, but still like delivering it in a different way that's a little more relevant to, a 45, 50-year-old mom.
Yeah. I mean, this is probably not going to sound pretty when I say it, but like, I don't know that the traditional model today with CrossFit does and gets people the results that it did a decade ago. I feel like that worked 10 years ago, and that's why people kept driving towards it. I'm not sure that works anymore.
What do you mean by that?
There was something like unique about, like, there was like a magic in 2010 CrossFit. Like, I don't know, something about a bunch of people coming together, like just disgustingly into fitness, and then it had this way to like take over your life that now I don't see that in the 2020 CrossFitter that's in that group model. I don't see it.
Well, it was so cultish. Like, I'm trying to think, like, when I started and you started.
But it was cultish to the point that it was good for you. It was like, I used to joke, like, haha, like, yeah, CrossFit's a cult, but it's a good one. It was a cult that was, like, maybe not mentally good for your health, but physically, it was like there's nothing else that's you're going to join, and it can transform your life that quickly, like with dogma, and then it gets people to fully buy into something. You can't be in or out back then. You were sold out. Paleo, doing all the whatever, wearing the skins, like, you're into it. Hand ripping was cool. Like, that's not it. Like, you.
Well, it wasn't for Gen Pop. It was special forces, ex-military, ex-college athletes. It was first responders,
But I feel like it was getting Gen Pop really fit, and it was like effective. And then something I don't know what changed, but like. I think it partly was like it got really commoditized, and then all the copycats are like F45, Orange Theory, Fitbody. I don't know if they're a copycat, but Fitbody, all that stuff. Like they seem like a similar thing to CrossFit.
But you're saying 2009, 2010. It wasn't like I didn't get or at least where I was doing it. It didn't feel like Gen Pop. You wouldn't walk in there and like the people you saw around you would be very different than if you went and took a class of Fitbody boot camp, for sure.
Maybe my experience was like it was taking Gen Pop people and turning them into these like.
Well, you weren't doing it at a gym. You were making people do it at a gym, right? Like,
yeah.
Okay, so I was going to like an actual CrossFit gym at the time, and it was a part-time thing by a firefighter. It was like a firefighter.
That's true.
Him and his buddies pulled some money together.
Yeah,
and the guys
there were not
full time.
There weren't really any full timers even back then.
It was here in Columbus, actually. It was and so. All right. Well, we don't want to go too deep down that rabbit hole, but that is something that I find interesting about your model. And so tell me how involved you are in the business at this point. I know you don't want to disclose your profitability and numbers, but like as someone who knows them, they're healthy, right? I will kind of out you a little bit and say you're doing top couple percent, definitely probably top 1% for like definitely a CrossFit gym owner. And so, talk to me about your involvement in the gym now.
Yeah. I have 4 or 5 very important meetings every week, plus check-ins. I'm like functioning CMO, so I focus on or CBO. I mean, I wear all the hats, but
what does the B stand for?
Chief Brand Officer.
Oh, okay.
So like the reason brand, like in the how we are perceived, how we are marketed, is like very important to me. Like how people see us, because that's not making decisions for today. That's making decisions for tomorrow and years out. Right, so I think about those kind of things. I think about culture a lot, but what's kind of culture I want internally with my staff, and then what's the culture that I want to. I mean, it sounds very controlling, but I don't mean to come off that way. But like I care about the culture that people have with each other, like at our gym. And I know I can't control that, but I try to encourage a type of culture.
So it's about 4 or 5 hours a week is kind of what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
And what does your team look like?
We're actually a pretty small team. We're currently we have a full-time media person that runs all of our media. So he's like my direct report. We have 3 coaches that like their job is to coach and fulfill, and then we have 3 other coaches that are coaching but also in some type of like leadership role that affects the business. So I have someone that does our sales. He's in charge of our experience and education. So he works with me on curating what type of experience that people have, and his job is to also educate our clients, existing and future clients. Then I have my director of group and GM, so he takes care of like all facility related stuff as well as managing group the group product, which is classes. And then we have my person that's in charge of client success.
6 full-time people plus the media guy, so 7 full-time people.
And then we have one person that's just just a part-timer.
Okay.
And then we also have 2 people that are like to do like physio, which is like physical therapy.
7 full-time people and some physios who are part-time and a part-time coach.
Yep.
Okay.
So our team is 10.
Got it.
Yeah.
And Gym World hack here, if you ever want to guesstimate someone's revenue, just take the amount of employees that they have and multiply it by 100,000. That'll get you really close. So I don't know if you guys knew that hack, but that works pretty well.
Is that a hack?
Yeah.
Take the number of full-timers?
Yeah. You're a little underrepresented, but that's typically, if they tell you if it's a higher revenue number than the secret, that means there's a healthy profit margin there. So you can kind of use my framework for reverse engineering profit there.
Interesting.
Okay, so you're in this situation where you got a good thing going.
Yeah.
You got a truck in. How long have you been in the CBO role? This professor, the brand officer in residence role.
I do other stuff too, but I mean,
you don't have to send your staff this podcast. It's fine. They won't find it.
No, it's probably been more like this in the last 2 to 3 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so we have a lot of.
I haven't coached a class since 2018 or 19. I say I've been kind of operating only since 2019.
So you're in the position that a lot of Gym World guests are, where you got a good business, got a healthy profit margin, may not be taking the most amount of time. And if you are one of Eric's staff people listening to this and hating Eric,
love you.
I will say, like, him removing himself from coaching and him spending less time in the business, like if you're a single location owner, that just creates more opportunity. Like I'm sure you're not on the floor, you probably wouldn't mind coaching a class or 2 doing these things, but
I would love to.
The more you remove yourself, the more you can pay your staff, the more opportunity 100%. You create for them. So
100%.
If you're a coach listening to this and just like evil owner, it's like the reason you do that is to, give your staff a lot more opportunity. Owners like that have more full-time staff members and staff members that get paid more. So just want to make that distinction and not make it seem like, Eric is eating caviar over.
I mean, I could also say, like, I genuinely mean this. Like, I often think to myself, like, dang, did I, like, take away roles that I enjoy doing? Like, maybe I wanted to do that. But then now, as you grow, I feel like the chief brand thing, it's like, I actually feel a responsibility to, like, I feel like I serve a brand now. It's like I'm part of that equation. That's my very important job is like, how do I grow this pie? And it's not just how do I grow this pie, but it's like, how do I do this in a way that's impactful and like meaningful, not just be money driven? And like, how do I take care of each staff and help them hit every single one of their goals? And it's like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and that takes a lot of time, and space and energy. So
sure.
Yeah.
And so, you got the gym cooking. It's doing well.
Yeah.
You've been in the, a thinking role, kind of a strategic role for 2-3 years now. How you feeling? Like, are you?
I would not use the word lost because I probably had like more time. Like, I hurt my back and then I had kids and I didn't work out. Like, I didn't work out the way I like to for years. So I'm like getting back in a groove of taking care of myself in a way that I feel like respects my body. Great relationships at home. So I wouldn't say that I'm lost, but I'm like kind of cooped like this. Like I'm tinkering. I'm trying to figure out what's next. But at the same time, like I think the gym business is this like its own living organism now, and like I can't force growth. You know what I mean? Like I can't make it go somewhere faster than it should or could, because it burns everyone. Like it burns my team out in the process. I'm in a place where I'm trying to figure out what to do next.
That was the best way I've ever heard it described, because a lot of gym owners feel the same way you do, where it gets, you succeed in this industry by like brute force and hustle. Like you don't get to the levels that some of the guests on the show get to by just kind of chilling and not taking action. But yeah, once you have a team in place, once you're doing well, once all those initial systems have been all set up and you're empowering people to make decisions, if you do that, your staff's going to hate you. Like they have to make decisions. That's what they're there for. And so, you're in a position where you can't really like jam change down the organization's throat without just being a bad boss, essentially, a bad owner.
Yeah.
Why do you think that drives so many gym owners insane?
Yeah, that's the dilemma that we all have, right? It's like, I honestly haven't talked to too many guys that are going through what I'm going through.
I could put you in touch with a few.
Okay, so
it's definitely like a common feeling when you get to that point. Well, what a lot of people do when they get to what you did is smart, and you didn't immediately open a second location, or maybe you did. Did you do a second location at some point?
We've considered it 3 times.
Yeah, so
all acquisition, and I'm glad we didn't do it.
That's typically what people do when they get just to the point where they feel comfortable and it's taking care of itself instead of.
Or you get a bigger space.
Yeah, you just take more risk, take more risk. And so you just do that until something breaks is typically what happens. But if you stay around, you sit in the same spot for where you are 2 or 3 years, it just you get a lot of people who just feel like they need to do something.
Yeah. Oh, so what did I do? 2021 through 2024, I started a lifestyle consulting business. I did very well. I took a couple courses, and it just kind of scaled something that I was already doing. So I was like, long story short, you have clients that leave the gym, like they move, and they love you. So one of my first clients that ever moved to Asia loved me and was like, hey, I don't want to stop paying you your gym fees because I know I've been with you for 3 years. I love you as a person. It's sentimental and stuff like that. How can we keep you being my coach? Because he sees me as his coach. I basically just kept giving him the gym workouts, but I would tweak them to his needs based on his situation, and then also give additional homework. And back then we used this thing called Skype. So I would send an Excel spreadsheet, and then we would get on Skype and do a phone call, and I'd start coaching. And then this client started a company overseas, and then my gym started doing better. And as we kind of evolved, I grew. It literally started with one client like this. He started his own business, and that business, he was struggling, and he eventually became very successful. Last year, I think they did $8 million, and it's a very low overhead business. It's he's like an intermediary sale. It's a middleman business, right? So he's touching it, and basically the skill is that right time, right place, right relationships, and he speaks the language. He speaks Mandarin and Cantonese.
So, literally speaks the language.
He speaks the language, yeah, and he speaks English. So he's an intermediary between Asia and the U.S. Long story short, he wants to take care of his health, wants to keep training, and then as we eventually the programming becomes the secondary thing, as more so he really enjoyed our conversations about life, and I would kind of mentor him in a way of did you think about this in your business, and then it became mindset, and just to a point where I'm I don't even know what you're paying for anymore. But then he he would always describe what I was doing for him to others, and he would refer people. Pre-COVID peak, I was making $3,000 a month doing it. So it's 10 clients. I'm not really making much off of it. But I took a course that really to teach you how to scale or whatever. Started doing 5130s before I even learned what 5130s were. I basically relaunched, and my first 2 months of my relaunch, I did an online coaching offer. I billed just under $50K for 2 months in a row. But the problem was fulfillment was all me. So I built it to sell it, and then I ended up issuing a ton of refunds.
Because you didn't want to fulfill?
I got neck pain from being on Zoom. And then I started feeling the coaching started becoming disingenuous.
It is one of those things that you just can't scale or
I was tired. I literally was on Zoom, and then you're trying to be myself. But I remember I would get on my 6th call of the day, and I'd be like, "How you doing?" And he'd be like, "How you doing?" I'd be like, and I find myself honestly, I'm really tired.
Yeah, I just don't want to be here talking to you about your problems.
I was oh shoot, you're not paying me for this right now, but I'm also trying to be myself. That became 6-figure revenue business on its own, for two. I went and started a separate LLC and everything.
And this was just essentially life coaching with some workouts paired to it.
Yeah. And then it kind of led to me writing a book.
That's where the Eric Freedom.
Yeah, that's where Eric Freedom came from. And then I realized that I was teaching the same framework over and over and over. And I was and I was specifically coaching guys. And it's weird because it's I'm not a therapist, but I'm sharing very anecdotal experiences that people relate to. I'm solving real life problems for people by just talking to them encouraging them to take care of their health, like auditing the pillars of their life and giving them a framework to live by. And it was like becoming a business for me. That was like this side thing. And then I think for me, what I realized was I got to a point in the end of 2022, once the book launched, this is March 2023, the day it launched, it was like we had a launch party, all this stuff. We talked about doing Barnes & Noble, all this stuff. And then the next month, I went into like this depression. It was like I hit this mountain peak, which like felt really cool. I finally, like, I worked on the book for 2 years. And then like I felt like one of the lowest lows I ever felt. Like I was like, oh, like what am I supposed to do now? I realized that the lifestyle coaching it's only going to scale if I do more. There's no one else that can coach as Eric Freedom other than Eric Freedom. It's like no one else can be Batman.
Right.
It's like, it's my cape. And it's like, I make the voice. You know, it's like,
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So I realized that, and then I kind of like this is like actually really good processing for me right now. So thank you. And then I realized like I can't scale this. I enjoy doing it, but I realized that I started doing a lot more just to do it because I'm so performative. And like I want to help. The heart is there, but then like my race is against myself. It's like, oh, how much can I push this thing? So then what I did was I just started like not renewing my clients. I just told them like, hey, I usually do it's a year coaching program, right? It's open with my own numbers. I charge $14,400 for the program. Most of my clients will prepay it, or they'll pay like 6 months at a time or something like that. And I just started like non-renewing. I'm like, hey, I'm gonna take 6 months for me personally. I feel like you're good. If you feel like you really need the coaching, like just call me, like hit me up. Like you have my number, we'll chat. But like I'm just not renewing anybody. Like can you respect that? Thank you. And then the roster just starts dwindling down, right? So I don't know. And then I played around with different stuff this year. I tried, like, I called it Train with Eric, but it's like I'm training you mentally, emotionally, physically, financially, mentally, whatever.
So you didn't break your gym because you've been
tinkering with other stuff, right? And then I back to the same place of like, what do I do now?
Right.
So
I mean, that's the evolution. Anybody who has success in coaching will then just, I was talking to Bonnie, who you're going to talk with. She's a psychotherapist who works with a lot of entrepreneurs, and the Two Brain Group. And it's the same thing. It's just you fill your roster up, and then you get trained, and then you have to figure out a way to systematize it, and it becomes very difficult. But it's a lot easier to scale down your one-man coaching business than it is to do like a gym or a lease, or so luckily it's kind of an interesting path to take versus immediately going and opening up another facility. You could let your guys cook at your gym, and then you just continue to do this, and you didn't have to take a lot of big risk here, which is kind of nice.
Really, no, it's just sweat equity and brain power.
Well, what are we thinking is next?
Dude, you tell me, man. I mean, not you tell me, but like that's what I've been trying to figure out for, I don't know, for like a season now, Yeah.
And do you think you'll continue coaching, or do you think this is something where you want to, or have we ruled out more gyms?
See, this is like that tricky thing where I've actually kind of put that fate into like the evolution of my staff and their wants and needs. So, and I know that's like probably not the best idea from a leadership perspective, but really it's like number one would need the right players to create the right ecosystem. So like I would say that like my number one, like my number 1, 2, 3, whoever that becomes, like they would want to have to develop some people that can scale to that level. So if they want that, maybe.
I know you have to get on a plane, and I have to get on a bus here shortly, but I do want to get, we will do a follow-up to see what is the next project. We keep track of all of our guests on this show, but for people who are more interested in you, your gym, your coaching, where do they go to find you?
It would be I think it's ericfreedom.com, and I'm Coach Eric Freedom on Instagram, but I actually deleted social media, so email me.
So hit him up.
Actually,
text
me. I'll put my phone number on here.
Page him.
Page me.
That's a terrible idea. Don't do that.
Don't do that. Okay, I won't put my phone number. Okay, I'll put my fake phone. It's ericfreedom.com.
Fill out the form, and then he'll give you the phone number.
Then I'll give you my phone number. Yeah, I don't know, but I love gym owners. If you're a gym owner and you want to connect, I'm happy to connect and help you. Like it's always a hand up from someone that's helped me to like get here. So I'm always happy to chat.
Well, gym owners, we are constantly searching the globe for people who are doing interesting things, and Eric is certainly doing an interesting thing. He's delivering CrossFit in a way that is different than the average gym, and it is working well for him. It's also an interesting insight to a path that a gym owner can take rather than immediately going and starting a own gym that kind of de-risks the future, less downside. And if you enjoy this, what you can do is you can just share it with another gym owner, and you can like it, and you can give us a comment, because it helps us out tremendously. I was talking to Eric before the show. When you have a show where you talk about how much money someone makes, they don't want to share that with their family and friends for some weird reason. So the only way we grow is if you share this with other gym owners in need. So we love you. That is it, and we will catch you next week. Goodbye.